Transformations review question number 4. What sequence of transformations can be used to show that rectangle WXYZ is similar to rectangle W double prime, X double prime, Y double prime, Z double prime? Well, look at the two figures and you can clearly tell they're different sizes, which means a dilation has occurred. When we have a dilation, step 1 is to find the scale factor. We're going to work backwards. To do that, we need to find the scale factor first. So I'm going to use W double prime, Z double prime, and WZ to find the scale factor. Well, you need to be careful because this is going 4.5 units this way and 4.5 units that direction. So in total, that would mean that W double prime, Z double prime is 9 units long. And WZ, its corresponding side, is 2 units long. So our scale factor is 9 divided by 2, and 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Okay, so step 1 is find scale factor. Pause your video, get all of that written down. Step 2. Step 2 is to find W prime, X prime, Y prime, Z prime. To do that, we're going to work backwards, and we are going to use the double prime figures, the coordinates for the double prime, and divide by the scale factor to find our prime. Okay, so we're going to divide by 4.5. I could read that off, but I don't need to. Just know that we're taking the coordinates for W double prime and dividing each by 4.5 to find W prime. And same thing for the rest of them. So if I take each of those and I divide by 4.5, for W prime, I get 1, 2. For X prime, I get 1, negative 2. For Y prime, I get negative 1, negative 1. And Z prime, I get negative 1, 2. Go ahead, pause your video, and get all of step 2 copied down. Make sure you get everything. Okay, before we move on to step 3, please make sure you have all of that there, because that is worth a point. Okay, so step 3 is to graph this figure. So W prime is at positive 1, 2, so that means I go to the right 1, up 2. X prime is at 1, negative 1, so I go to the right 1, but down 1. That means that X prime shares the same point as Y. X prime shares the same point as Y. Y prime is at negative 1, negative 1. That's to the left 1 and down 1. And Z prime is at negative 1, 2. That's to the left 1, but up 2. So now that I know where the 4 points belong, I'm going to connect those to find my rectangle, to graph my rectangle. Well, try that again. I'm going to make it larger. Okay, so there is W prime, X prime, Y prime, Z prime. Take a moment, complete step 3 by graphing that figure. Okay, step 4 is to figure out what else has happened here. We know dilation has occurred, but we need to look at W, X, Y, Z and W prime, X prime, Y prime, Z prime. Look at the orientation of the two to figure out what happened besides the dilation. Well, W and W prime are not directly across from one another. Yes, X and X prime are, but W and W prime are not directly across from one another. Z and Z prime are not directly across from one another. Therefore, it could not be a reflection. It's not an opposite orientation. It is a different orientation. And if it's a different orientation, we know that a rotation has occurred. And if you look at this, it clearly has gone and rotated that direction. So, it's a different orientation. We know that a rotation has occurred. So we're looking at W, which is at negative 2, 1, and W prime, which is at 1, 2. Well, what happened between our x-coordinates? So our x-coordinate, it is the opposite. And here, it stayed the same. So that means that the the rotation looks like y opposite of x. Y opposite of x. The y coordinate moved first, and then we took the opposite of the x coordinate for the second coordinate. So again, it looks like it is y and then the opposite of x. If I go over to our transformations guide, and I'm looking for y negative x, which is right here, and down here, that means it is 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise. 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise. And if I go back to my figure, we did say that it went that direction, 90 degrees clockwise. So, besides a dilation, there was a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise, which is the same as 270 degrees counterclockwise. Take a moment, pause your video, and get all of step 4 written down. Okay, step 5. What happened? Well, there was the sequence of transformations included a 90 degrees clockwise / 270 degrees counterclockwise rotation about the origin, followed by a dilation with a scale factor of 4.5. Again, the sequence of transformations included a 90 degrees clockwise / 270 degrees counterclockwise rotation about the origin. It rotated about the origin, followed by a dilation with a scale factor of 4.5. Pause your video, get all of part 5 written down. Okay, that is it for question number 4. If you have any questions, let me know. And I would take one last moment, pause your video, and make sure everything is written down. Again, if you have questions, let me know.